Welcome back to the channel. For those that are new around here, I'm Gaz, and I essentially just put myself in the bin week after week trying to keep up with people that are 10 years younger than me. If you don't already, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and come along for a journey. It's not that bad. This week I thought I'd do a little bit of an update. Obviously I've been in Chicago for the Hyrox World Championships and Ironman 70.3 Rockford. 3 races across 2 weekends, and thought I'd update you about where I'm at currently with my injury, what the season now looks like, and what plans we're putting in place to see if Ironman Leeds is still a go, which I'll come on to in a little bit more detail. The last 2 weeks have been a bit of a whirlwind actually. I've been in Chicago for the full 2 weeks, racing the Hyrox World Championships and Ironman Rockford 70.3, which is the first ever event of it, and we'll go into that in a little bit more detail. But let's go through the Hyrox World Champs. You'll have watched my last video, which was the singles race. I had the singles race and the doubles race with Joe over the course of that weekend. Now, I didn't actually film any of the doubles race, and I thought I'd break it down so you had an idea of how we got on, what went well, what didn't go well, and where we're at currently, building towards some new goals and where we stack up in the world. The reason I didn't film it was, obviously I've had a bit of a hamstring issue, aka a torn hamstring, going into this 7 weeks ago. What I wanted to do was to make sure that I was in it fully with Joe. I didn't want to stand there filming, didn't want to take anything away from the actual race itself. I felt like Joe's had an incredible season. Mid-brief poo pickup, it's all right. Anyway, where were we? Yeah, I feel like Joe had an incredible season, and I wanted to make sure that he finished it on a high. The last thing I wanted to do was for me to, I don't know, come in there not being fully focused, looking at like, oh, what can we film, what can we not film, and then have a poor race, because that's just not what we'd planned for the full year. So we went into it, I think, following the singles race, which I know the sled didn't go too well, but the rest of the race actually felt amazing. I think it was still one of my best ever races, particularly what I'd pulled together after the sled, because head didn't drop. I managed to maintain the focus and keep pushing onwards. I was quite excited about what me and Joe could actually do. My body was feeling good. We've been eating quite well in Chicago as well. Chicago is like my new favourite city. It's such a good city for all things fitness related, eating well, having a nice easy going time. Me and Laura were saying it's perfect for anyone who just likes convenient things in life, whether you want your Starbucks at 4 AM or just get a nice healthy bit of food delivered to the hotel. Like, it's literally perfect for it. Yeah, I was feeling pretty good. Had a good fuel up from the singles race. I was excited to get stuck in on the Sunday. The only thing that was playing in my mind was if the sleds were as bad as I made them look, or as heavy. Now, it wasn't necessarily that they were heavy, I just couldn't get my footing in. So I borrowed Danny Ray's trainer, so he had a couple of sets of the Pumas, which have got a little bit more grip on them. So I borrowed a set of Danny's because I wanted to make sure that I could move the sled. I mean, it's a partner one, so worst case, Joe was going to shift it all anyway. Met Joe pre-race, had a little bit of a talk of tactics. Now, we're very much in the business of the tactics are there, but if we need to shift them round, we do. So we had the idea that I would pretty much start and finish most of the actual stations, and then we would run as hard as we could. Before the race, we'd set ourselves would I say unrealistic? A very hard target that we wanted to be in the top 20 overall in the world and wanted to be in the top 10 in our age group. I think looking at the standard this year was a huge ask from both of us. We've only raced together once actually. We just literally raced together in the race where we'd qualified, which was London XL, where we got 54.02 and came 4th overall in the open division. I know for me personally, I wanted to beat that open time with the pro weights. I feel like we were both a lot fitter, although we hadn't raced together. We train together a lot at Total Fitness, so we do actually get a chance to train together. So we understand each other's like body language, when someone's struggling, when someone's not struggling, when to push, when not to push. So I felt like we were in a pretty good position for that. Going into the actual race itself, Joe felt great, I felt great, and we went down to the tunnel as always, a couple of minutes before. Didn't want to be stood in there with, there's a lot of testosterone at the World Championships, and this is probably the first year where the World Championships has actually felt like the World Championships. it genuinely felt like the best in the world were there for this weekend. I think I've been to Manchester and Nice the last couple of years, and it's felt like Hyrox have almost tried to fill it like an event, whereas Chicago definitely felt like it was the top percent of people across Hyrox. Even when we were running, you're not overtaking anyone and they're not overtaking you, so it's quite a good standard for that. By the way, Hank never walks. Maybe I just vlog every race. So the track was fairly empty. Like, obviously it was full of fast people, so you could just like lock in behind someone and go. Started the race, and our whole aim was to not fuck ourselves on the first run. So the first run was about 1.3, 1.4k, and what we'd said to ourselves is if we can come in at about 450 and maybe be, I don't know, 10th, 11th, 12th on the ski, we don't want to be out of the race, but we don't want to be winning the race at that point, because that's not how we race. Me and Joe very much push towards the back end of races and stay consistent throughout that. So our whole goal for the first run was to just get in there, settle in and go from it. Now we break our ski down in 30 seconds, so it was a matter of me coming in. We don't actually know who finishes the ski. I think it normally actually might be me, but it's only about 80, 90 metres as I finish. Finish the ski, and then we can start to build into the race. We wanted to keep all our runs really consistent, which I think we did. They were all bang on. And like I said, really push the stations. Now, we've been doing a lot of station work because I've not been able to run, and actually Joe's not been able to run for the best part of the season. I coach Joe, so I know exactly how much running he's been doing. And between me and Joe, we've not done a lot of running, which shows some really good signs for next season. So ski felt great, the run felt great, into the sled push. Joe was first onto the sled push, and then once I got on it, I was like, oh, thank God, it's a normal sled. So it moved as normal, which was fine. We ran pretty hard from the sled push. I was at a point where I felt really good, and I wanted to push Joe to a point where he was pretty much on his limit but could still perform on every single station, which he did. We're trying to stick with, I think there was about 2 pairs in front of us in our wave. There was Lewis and Adam, who I suppose are the standard in our age group, which is good to see. They're like 52 boys, and I said to Joe originally, if we can keep with them, we're going to be in a really, really good spot. Sled pull, absolutely fine. Burpees, again, no dramas. And then the row is where we tend to, I say, a lot of people go in and say like, this is the time to recover. Or the first one each, so we break it into 2, so 250 each, me and Joe do. The first 250 is hard, and the second 250 is a little bit easier, just so we can run harder off it and we can make sure that we're still in the race. The race essentially starts from that row, and then we're moving into the back end of the race, which is our good one. We just carried on in the form that we were. We pushed as hard as we possibly could. It was at the point where we were both properly feeling it. Now, we were going fast. I looked at my watch coming out of the lunges, and I knew we were on to try to beat our open time if we could just hang on. Finish the wall balls. We stepped over the line in 53:27. 30 seconds under our open time. We were 21st overall in the world, which we wanted top 20, and 21st, I was absolutely buzzing with it. I still am buzzing with it. Like, to be 21st best in the world when you look at all the doubles partnerships that have been going on this year, and how me and Joe have kind of strung our year together. Joe's had an amazing year. Loads and loads of flags, loads of podiums, loads of PBs. To be fair, I've had a really good year, minus the last like 8 weeks where I tore my hamstring. But I think the fact that we managed to pull this together was incredible, and I was absolutely buzzing with that. We came 14th in our age group, which shows just how strong our age group actually is. I don't think I've got over it, to be fair. I've always felt like I'm a really, really good doubles athlete. I can push when I get a little bit of rest. I think my background in endurance, if you give me a little bit of rest, my heart rate can stabilise and then I can go again. And I think Joe's probably very similar. We've made a plan now to go all in on the doubles next year. So this year was very much a bit of everything. We were racing a lot of singles, racing a lot of doubles, some mixed doubles, like a little bit of everything. Now, we're going to go all in on the doubles. So we've got 4 races already planned pre-Christmas where we're going to go hit pro doubles, see how, well, qualify for the World Championships, hopefully straight away, and then see how close we can get to the Elite 15. Our whole goal this year is to get in that top 10 overall at Stockholm 2026. We want ideally to be as close to the Elite 15 as possible. Now, we know that that is, again, a massive stretch goal. For us to be anywhere near that Elite 15 is going to be very, very tough, but we're in the business of trying to push ourselves. We've got the beauty that we can train together a lot. I've got and this one of the tough things I think about doubles racing is finding someone who wants to go all in as much as you do and wants to race as much as you do. And I know with Joe, and Joe knows with me that if he messages me and says, do you want to do Frankfurt this weekend, or I message him saying, do you want to do Barcelona this weekend, chances are we will both do it if we haven't got anything on. Another goal for us would also to be podium together. We've never actually podiumed together. We were on the podium all weekend. We raced Friday in London, Friday morning, and we were on the podium till Sunday night. The last wave, someone knocked us off, so it'd be nice to get a podium together as well. That was the Hyrox World Championship. So overall, a massive success. I think the singles race, absolutely buzzing with, but the doubles race, like, just filled me with pride. I think it was, if I'm like, my overriding emotion for the doubles race was one of pride. I was just buzzing that, first of all, me and Joe got there, and then second of all, that we were able to perform how we did perform that day. Something that I'm incredibly proud of. I'm not as young as the rest of them at the moment, but I'm still hanging on to this. I'll be 37 this year. I'm looking at people like Adam Collette, Aaron Woodman, the boys that are like now in the 40 to 44 category who are still like winning races overall, and it just gives me a lot of confidence going into the next few years that I can still be one of the best in the world at Hyrox. Conscious this is probably a bit of a ramble, but it's nice to get it out. It's like my own therapy session. We then went over to Rockford, Illinois, so it was an hour and a half outside of Chicago. Me and Laura had a look for any triathlon events that were ongoing in like Chicago area while we were over doing the Hyrox. We stumbled across Ironman 70.3 Rockford, which is his first ever event, which was really cool. So it had never been put on before. It was an hour and a half outside in a little, I say little town, it was a city outside of Chicago. We got a hire car, took our bikes and headed over there to do the 70.3. Now, training's gone really well, everything had gone really well. What we hadn't planned for was 36-degree heat, and yeah, for anyone who's not raced in 36-degree heat before, it's hot. It was like an oven. If you want to watch a full breakdown of the actual Rockford race, go and watch Laura's YouTube channel because she's done a full video of what it was like, the build up to it as well. Essentially, for me, the race didn't necessarily go as planned. So I, in my head, had an idea that I would be well below sub 5. Looking at my fitness, my form, how I'm biking, everything like that, just felt like I should be around that. I still think that was achievable. I should have probably tempered that expectation a touch, given the fact that it was 36-degree heat, but I didn't, because that's me. Swam really, really well. So it was a down river swim, 1 mile straight down a river. Swam well, no wetsuit, 33 minutes, which is pretty good for me. I then got onto the bike, and now I've always been, because I've not always been the fastest swimmer, I've had to really push the bike to get up to the front of the race. I pushed the first 40k probably as hard as I've ever pushed a bike, which for me is good, but I probably shouldn't have done it in this heat. So I did the first 40k in an hour and 2 minutes. Got up towards the front of the race. Now I knew I was at the front-ish of the race because I could start seeing disc wheels, people dialed in on positions. You can see basically straight up the road. It was like a big long straight and then a big loop at the top and then a big long straight back, so I could see where everyone was. I felt absolutely fine until about 65k into the bike. I made a terrible decision at an aid station where I was carrying, Laura lent me one of her Ironman water bottles, and I went past an aid station and they were giving out little plastic bottles, and I thought, I can't bin Laura's Ironman bottle for a plastic one. So I just binned my bottle, kept Laura's, which was empty, and then just switched it out for one plastic water bottle. So I actually only had one water bottle with me, which in hindsight was an absolutely terrible decision, but I was trying to be a good fiance. I then paid for that for the next 20-30k. My legs started cramping up, just sat down on the bike. I then full body started cramping up, so my stomach everywhere, and then my bad hamstring cramped and it pretty much threw me off the bike. Luckily I was going up a little hill, so I wasn't going very fast, but yeah, it threw me off the bike with the pain of it. Now don't know if it's like redone my hamstring or not, or whether it just, you know, is extra painful because that was torn a few weeks back. I'm not sure. I'm kind of waiting to see the aftermath of it. I've been struggling to straighten my leg for the last few days. Eased off a little bit today, which is nice, and while I'm out walking, I got thrown off the bike. 2 policemen were there and a fireman. Weird. There's firemen everywhere in America. And they came up to me and was like, do you want me to help you bend your legs, or do you want me to call an ambulance, whatnot? We called emergency support for the course, and then I kind of just laid under this tree, similar to this now, in like the shade, and I thought, do you know what? I'll walk to the top of this hill and I'll see if I can like roll down, because I'm in America, I need to get this medal. I need to finish the race. So I'd had like 10 minutes under a tree. Someone had thrown a bottle of electrolytes on the floor, which was good. So I drank all that, which was a litre. And then, yeah, I laid under a tree, walked up to the top of the hill, and then started rolling down. So this was at 83k, rolled down to the finish, which was at 92k, should be 90. I was like, where the fuck is this finish line? Got into transition, put my trainers on and thought, right, let's just get around this half marathon. Doesn't matter if you're walking, doesn't matter if you're, you know, jogging, whatever you can do. I started jogging, I tried, and then it just went into a walk really, really quickly, because I just realised I just couldn't physically put any stress through my legs because they'd just cramp up straight away. It was a 2-lap course, so it was about 10.5k both laps, but there was about 6 aid stations on each one, which was good. So I was walking through on the first lap every single aid station, and I was making sure that I got a lot of fluid in. So I must have done 6 or 7 cups of electrolyte on every single one. Ice down my back, 2 gels, all that kind of stuff. By lap 2, I could start running again. I felt normal. Well, I say I felt normal. I felt dead, but I felt normal, which was good. So yeah, I hobbled home in like 6 hours, 6 minutes. Not the race that I wanted, but the race that I probably deserved after pushing the bike so much. And also a proper good mental check-in. Now there's a lot to be said about putting yourself in the bin, and I mean like firmly in the bin. There was a point on that bike where I thought, this is the end. And you probably shouldn't feel like that. That's not ideal for racing. Putting yourself in the bin that much is good for your mental state, because when it comes to it next time, you can be like, well, actually, I'm not in that much pain as I was before. So yeah, overall, across the Chicago weeks, pretty happy with how it all went. I was just happy to be standing on the start line of all these. There was a point 2-3 weeks ago where I thought genuinely wasn't going to be able to start any of the races, which after a good season was quite tough to take, particularly when I tore that hamstring. I'm pretty proud of myself with how that is and how the season went. The Hyrox World Champs was, you know, I couldn't have asked for any more. Proud of how me and Joe performed, and proud of how I performed myself. And then looking at Ironman Rockford, okay, it didn't go as planned, but it was another 70.3 ticked off, and another step towards getting fitter and stronger at my age. Next up, I'm hoping, and this will depend on how the hamstring reacts over the next couple of weeks, is Ironman Leeds in a little over 4 weeks. If I can get on that start line, I will be there. My issue at the moment is I'm not sure how the hamstring is, given the fact that I can't straighten my leg, and there's it just feels like a lot of bruising and a lot of stress around that hamstring area. So I'm going to wait and see how that is. The ideal scenario is I stand on that start line and I can give everything. If it means I stand on the start line and just have to get through it, then we do that. But I want to be there with it. So the next 4 weeks are going to be completely geared up to Ironman training. I'm going to get into a big Ironman block, make sure that I'm leaving no stone unturned for that, making sure plenty of swimming, biking, and I'm going to have to do a couple of runs. I was thinking possibly next week I'll do like a longish run, which will be a good test, maybe 30-ish k. Next 4 weeks is going to be geared up towards Ironman training. Follow the journey and let's see if we can get to that start line and do the business there. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you don't already, and I'll see you soon.